So today I wanted to share with you guys how much my life has changed since moving to America. Meeting Ted and getting married was the highlight of my entire life. I never imagined for a second that little girl in Africa, never imagined that she'll meet this incredible man, settle down with him and have a daughter. It was far from anything I ever dreamed of. But here we are. I moved from Ghana when I was 16 years old. This little girl, not knowing anything about the world. I lived in the village my whole life. But living in Africa, there was a lot that I was responsible for. A lot of us are not born with a silver spoon in our mouth, and I was not born with one in my mouth. I grew up with my grandmother because of financial situation and other things as well. So my grandmother raised me, and living with her, I had to wake up in the morning. We made these donuts, and I had to wake up in the morning and make sure the donuts were ready to be sold in the market, and I would set the donuts on this tray, and I'll carry them on my head literally and walk around to sell them. And sometimes I had them plated in a box, and I would stand by them outside of our house. I used to wake up at 5 a.m. and I did that until 10 a.m. and at 10 a.m. I had to go get ready for school. I'll go take a shower, brush my teeth, do everything that I had to do, and then have breakfast. And sometimes I barely ate because I'll be so tired by the time I had to go to school. Yeah. And so I'll go right to school. I'll be at school until 12 or 12:30, and then I'll come home. In Ivory Coast, what we did with school was that we went in the morning and came home in the afternoon. We had lunch and then we went back. So our schools were mostly walking distance, and my school was probably 20 minutes walking distance, and it wasn't that bad. We walked everywhere, and so it wasn't that bad. 20 minutes wasn't like too long for me. So we'll leave school, come home and have lunch. And when I got home for lunch, right after eating, I had to make sure I did my afternoon chores, cleaning, cooking, making sure that the house was tidy. And right after I made sure the house was tidy, I'll put my uniform back on and I'll be back at school. If you didn't go back, you get in big trouble. So I'll walk back to school, and school will be done, if I can quite remember, around 5, 6-ish. Walk back home and do my evening chores, which consisted of washing my school uniform. Yeah, we had those little cute uniforms that we used to wear. They were like in checkers, like blue and white. I washed my school uniform because I only had one. I would dry it so that the next morning I'll have a clean uniform to wear. Because we walked a lot, there was a lot of sweat involved. So if your uniform wasn't clean, then you go to school smelling like, old laundry. So yeah. I'll wash my school uniform, do house chores. If there was dinner being made, I will assist my grandmother in making the dinner, and then the oldest cousins in the house will eat, and then we will proceed to eating. And right after that, if there was some playing going on, we'll go play. We'll play this thing called ampe, where we jump and do our legs. I can show you guys. I'm sitting down, but yeah. And then by the time we went to bed, it'll probably be like 11, sometimes midnight, and then do the same thing over again the very next day. If there was something else to be sold, and we ran a bar and a restaurant, so I also assisted in the restaurant and the bar a lot. So there was always chores, there was always activities, there was always something that was keeping me busy. Ghana was a little different, I stayed with my uncle and my aunt. We went to school once throughout the day, and we came home in the evening. We didn't have to go twice in the day like we did in the Ivory Coast. I come home from school in Ghana, and I also help with the cooking, doing chores in the house. The same routine kind of, but it wasn't as intense as it was in Ivory Coast, And so when I moved to the United States, I lived with the host family, and I was like, where are the chores? So my life was boring. Like, I didn't have to do anything. I wake up in the morning, breakfast was ready. They'll call me to come and eat. They had one child. They'll call me to come and eat. And I was like, man, this is such a different life. This is such a different vibe. I was, still adjusting. I wake up and do things that was not asked of me, was not required of me. And at that age, to them, they're like, why are you trying to do this? You don't have to do this, Veronica. I'm like, I'm 60. This is the time to be doing more.
Boy, when they talk about home training, there's a reason my wife was such a catch. I mean, other than her obvious beauty.
Oh, thank you.
She's just such a wife and such a homemaker, because she cooks, she cleans, she raises our daughter.
The foundation was laid.
I mean, I walk in the door from work and she wraps her arms around me and, shows me loving. And she's just, I can see going back, looking at her home training
Yeah.
and seeing, what her upbringing was like. She had a work ethic instilled within her
Yes.
from a very early age, and that is not necessarily unusual in the United States, but I would say that a lot of us maybe are more spoiled than that. We have a lot of luxuries here. We have washers and dryers.
Oh man, really?
And,
I was
just
the washer.
everything is automated. Yeah.
So to me, that was a big difference. And another big difference was the food. Everyone ate at the restaurant. I was like, we didn't do that. Like, we owned the restaurant. My grandmother owned the restaurant. We cooked and served other people.
Right.
We would eat the food when, the dinner time came and food was served to the customers and stuff like that. But we didn't have the luxury of McDonald's, being across the street and crossing the street with
Did they have McDonald's there?
Now they do.
Not
But
then.
back then, I'd never seen one. And I was young too, and I never went anywhere. So I probably didn't see. I was the confined of my village, of the community. That's where I was. So yeah, another thing that I love though about another difference that I saw in America was that kids here could hold a job in high-end places. Like when I say high-end places, I mean like, let's an example, like kids here can hold a job at like even at a grocery store. Like I would say, to make
That was high-end?
That was high-end. Like to own a job, you probably and actually make that much money.
Yeah.
Like you probably assisted your auntie's store or your mom owned a store and you assisted here and there, but you didn't get paid like that. I mean, kids here actually get a check at the end of the month. And I'm like, man, you got a check after every 2 weeks or the end of the month. Like, you're good like that. We didn't have that.
So when you started working at the same country club in Maryland that the Obamas go to, you probably thought maybe you had just entered like the stratosphere or something.
No, I had already started working little jobs here and there.
Right.
But when I started working that job, I was like, yeah, that is nice. That's a place to be. Like, that was nice. Plus, when you come from nothing, okay? When you come from little to nothing, life teaches you to, the little things that a lot of people take for granted mean so much to me.
Yeah.
It means so much to me. Like, you don't understand having the lights on, being able to jump in the car right now and say, okay, we are going to the store. That is a luxury. That is a blessing. A lot of things in my life, I look at it as a blessing because growing up, I didn't see that. Like, we had a well when I was in Ghana. We had a well in our compound, and it was such a blessing having the well there, because other people who didn't have a well, I used to see them have the buckets on their head coming from across where they live, around the beach area. They walk all the way to town to come and fetch water. There was a community well that they could come and fetch water at. And sometimes we'll let them come into our compound to fetch water to take. But I used to think to myself, man, if my dad didn't build this well, we would have also been carrying buckets and big pots on our head just to go and fetch the water.
Yeah.
I come to America, you go into the kitchen, letting the water run like the fountains of Egypt. I'm like, turn that water off. Like,
right.
Turn it off. I don't play. But
well, one thing I've always wondered, and maybe you brought it up before, but you're so well spoken and so articulate. Yeah. Were you always this articulate, even in Ghana?
I wasn't. In Ghana, I didn't speak
English, of course.
I didn't speak any English in Ghana. I only spoke French because we grew up in Ivory Coast. It was hard, but there was a teacher, Miss Sally. I'll never forget. My mom was like, "This is my daughter. I want you to teach her everything you know." Miss Sally was teaching me. So I know shorthand. I don't know if you guys know shorthand. It's like an old form of writing. And I know how to write in shorthand. So if I'm taking notes, I can take notes in shorthand and be quick. So I learned that from Miss Sally. And she started teaching me English. But the kids would tease me. But one thing I loved about myself is the courage to want to learn.
Yeah.
I yearned for education.
Yeah, and you're still like that.
And so, yeah, I'm glad, because when I moved to Ghana and I would try and speak English and the kids would laugh at some of the things I would say, I used to be so embarrassed, but I never gave up. When they assigned the reading in class, I was like, I'll do it. Even though I spoke no English, I was like, I'll do it. The kids didn't know what I was up to. Like, the teacher would give me the book and say, read. And I'll take the book and I could barely pronounce the words, but I was reading it like so, like as if I knew what I was saying.
Yeah.
But now I realized, and Miss Sally, what she did was that she made me read everything. When she would see a sign a directional sign. She'll say, read that. Even though I didn't know, she said, read this, read that. So I was reading everything left and right. Next thing I knew, I was speaking English. I was like, whoa, I speak English and French and then the local dialects in Ghana. That is like, woo.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. So moving here though, after learning English a little bit in Ghana and not really, having a grasp on things, and then being moved to a different country, it's like, man, I was just getting the hang of the Ghana English, and now into a different country, the big difference in accent. Oh, do Americans have an accent? Boy, oh boy, they do. Americans don't think they have an accent. Well, people in the South know that they have an accent, but a lot of other parts, I don't think they know they have an accent. Well, to us, you do. And, obviously we have a big accent. But when I was hearing Americans speak, I'm like, man, it's so beautiful, but what are you saying? Slow down. And every time someone said something, I would say, what did you say? What did you say? Just so I could understand. Now I don't do that anymore. Like Ted can speak, and I understand everything. Yeah. Anyone can say anything, I can understand it.
Yeah.
Like I got good at it. My ears picked up on the accent. I remember one of the funniest things. Okay, you guys don't laugh at me. I don't think I'm going to share it.
You can laugh at her.
No, I'm not going to share this.
You've got my permission.
No, I'm not going to share it.
It's too late now.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so when I first moved here, right? Slay me. When I first moved here, my host parent are trying to order dinner, okay? And they're like, Veronica, do you want some pizza? And I was like, no, I don't want pizza. Pizza, okay? No, I don't want pizza. And they're laughing.
Because they thought you were talking about pig's eye.
No, I don't know what they were thinking I was saying. I kept saying pig. I never had pizza in the village. I never heard the word before.
What, you don't have Domino's in the village?
Of course no. So when they said, do you want some pizza? I thought they were saying pig. I don't know why, because the word, learning English, the word pig, I learned the word P-I-G, pig, right? And now you are saying something else, it's called pig? Like, why are you introducing me to this new word? And so I kept saying pigza, pig. All this, and they were laughing, and I was so embarrassed.
Well, you shouldn't be embarrassed at all anymore, because honestly, you put some of us natively English-speaking people
I don't think
to shame. I mean, no, you're very articulate.
I'm still learning.
Your vocabulary is expansive. And it's really impressive. So because you kind of always just had this motivation within you, I take it, to just reach for the stars and go for something even more than what you had, like how would you describe, like, for instance, God's faithfulness having carried you from where you started to where you are today? What's that big picture to you inside when you see that?
Ooh, what a beautiful question. I am so blessed. I would say I am so blessed and so favored, because a lot of people go through my journey, my traumas, my experiences, and do not make it. But I've gone through it and I'm still soaring. It's only by His grace and His mercies. God had a way with me. He directed every step I took. Even when I didn't know He was with me, He still was. There were times of loneliness when I was here feeling alone without my family and friends, that I felt a whisper from Him saying, I'm with you. You are not alone. Even in my errors and in my mistakes and in the things that I thought, man, He could never take me back after that. He still took me back. And so I knew that everything I was doing was being orchestrated by Him. And even in my mistakes, He was still with me, guiding me to help me build a character trait that I could never walk away from. And so with everything that I've acquired, meeting you, getting married was one of the biggest blessings of my life. Having a daughter, Proverbs, has changed the dynamics of our relationship, has changed who I am, and everything that I learned, I want to instill that in her. And I always say I never want her to heal from anything that I had to go through. And I'm so grateful for our marriage. I'm so grateful for the education I was able to get moving to America. I'm so grateful for the other educational opportunities that I'm pursuing now. I'm so grateful for, a roof over our head. I'm so grateful being able to turn the lights on and off. I'm so grateful being able to turn the water on just to fetch water. It's just, it's a blessing. Those are things that I do not take for granted.
Yeah.
So God has brought me so far, and He's still working. I'm still a work in progress, and there is still so much for me to learn and to experience and to do and to build.
Yeah.
And I feel like we are on such a great path together,
Yeah.
working at building that.
Yeah.
And it is only by His grace,
Well, and with growth,
yes,
you can't grow without pain. It's like when you work out, right? You have to push beyond that point of pain to have any gains.
Yeah.
And part of what's happening is, muscles are breaking down so that more can build back up.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of pain in your life and these experiences in that major growth from one part of the world to the next and everything in between and all of the challenges and betrayals of others and things that you've gone through. It kind of makes me think of this song that you chose for our wedding day.
I don't even
and
remember.
bringing God into that.
Yes,
You know.
that song.
The broken road, right? God bless.
That's what I walked down the aisle with. You guys, isn't that great? I didn't want any traditional song. Every long, long stream taking me where you are. This much I know is true.
Yeah.
God bless the broken road that led me straight to you.
Yeah, and that was it. And that kind of just says it all, doesn't it?
Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for tuning in once again. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.